Hey folks, welcome to eCommerce. I'm excited for this. This is going to be an 8-week sped up program for eCommerce. It's WebD 173. It's the first time we've ever offered it completely online. I can tell you we have about 40 students, which is great. So if you're in town, out of town, doesn't matter. I would just say initially make sure the channels are open. Our goals for this semester are to make you understand e-commerce. Now, e-commerce is a little more complicated. It's in the more advanced part of our associate's degree chain because it covers both storage and security. So those are two very important things we need to discuss. Plus, this is an excellent course for developing a portfolio piece. So let's dive into the syllabus. This first video will just be an overview of what we're going to get done, how to reach me, and how it's going to roll. So there'll be a few videos this week. Again, it's an 8-week course, so I'd say it's intensive because the traditional e-commerce course that I teach is 16 weeks. But anyway, this course will give you the knowledge and skills required to create an e-commerce website. Now, specifically, we're going to be covering an open source e-commerce system called OpenCart. We do have a private personal cart for Mesa College, which is called the Mesa Cart. But with 8 weeks, I don't recommend you use it for your projects. OS Commerce is going to be, OpenCart will be the most prevalent open source e-commerce solution that you'll experience. There are others that we'll go over, but specifically when I make examples, I'm going to be covering OpenCart, and you'll see why when we dive into it. So basically, we need to analyze clients' needs to develop appropriate e-commerce solutions and incorporate them into secure websites using either custom databases or CMSs. Now, that's an important deal. This is another reason why we're going with OpenCart, because OpenCart has enough to satisfy almost any kind of client. So what I'll be looking from you is to develop an e-commerce site. And students will implement best practices as you design the visual interface, develop databases using MySQL. Now, as far as developing the database, actually OpenCart has it for us, but I'm going to ask that you understand it. Also, OpenCart runs off PHP, so that's why PHP is mentioned here. So we'll be creating the product lines that we are doing for our site, which we can talk about in another video. But we'll be setting up the cart, and that will include the ability to order, process payments, and actually order fulfillment, which is a lot to ask for in an 8-week course. Lastly, we'll cover security implementation, and we'll be adhering to an industry standard called PCI, which is personal card information. So we'll get into that during the course. But this course is designed for students studying web design and professionals updating their skills. So that said, I know there's going to be maybe a couple of fashion students in here with no web background. I'm going to ask that you contact me directly, and we'll work on a plan for you that's slightly different. But we don't want to deprive the web students of the ability to go ahead and move forward in their careers by covering some of the more technologically based concepts that are taught in the course. So anyway, let's go forward a little bit. I'll be putting in enough hours of video that'll cover this 40 to 45. You'll see that they'll be arriving each week during the semester. And the lab hours are simply the time you'll spend on your homework and the project. So a couple things as far as office hours, I'm in and out. I will always meet you, but you have to give me notice. And I'm going to ask for at least 72 hours to grade each project. So anyway, this is my email address. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you want to set up a Zoom teleconference or Google Hangout. Anyway, to our advisories, just keep in mind that Web 162 is the HTML CSS course, and 165 is the Dreamweaver course, which is being removed. And Web 166 is also an alternate, which is a PHP course. So our student learning outcomes, which you see here, are to create a simple database to be used on an e-commerce page. And then we need to integrate a database into an e-commerce web page. Well, we'll be doing that. And we'll be doing that in smaller doses. We'll have a database that is a shopping cart. And we'll use simple PHP calls to get data from the database to display it on a website. But the fact is, for us to have a really good portfolio piece in 8 weeks, will require that our actual project utilize a database that someone else built, that from OpenCart. So just as a precursor, some of you might come forward and say, well, I want to use WooCommerce. I want to use my own stuff. I want to use OS Commerce, some other solution, Magento maybe. And that's fine. I'll allow it. But the coverage inside this course will be of OpenCart, just because it's probably the most useful, most thorough, most well-known open source platform where we don't have to buy a license. But we'll be going over all that. So anyway, the learning objectives, and all these things come down from the state level. We'll need to understand security in point 1 here. That's the HTTPS that you see in the URL window in front of you. So I'll teach you about setting up security for e-commerce sites, and you're in luck because most servers right now, if you have a paid server, a shared host, something like that, they'll set it up for you. So we'll be going over that. And of course, number 3 is an overview, which means we design and create websites that have fully functioning e-commerce components, and we'll get into that right away this week. And creating databases using MySQL and PHP, and creating the websites, we've already talked about that. The fact is, OpenCart will have an installer that installs our databases for us. The ability to set up and manage user accounts, that'll be all part of OpenCart. So we can nail 3, 4, 5 of these at once with OpenCart. And setting up payment methods with PayPal. Well, in week 1, we're going to be covering PayPal right away. So that's a really nice sandbox, very easy to use, very easy to implement. And the fact is, you don't have to shut down your shopping cart in order to use it. So we'll see. You'll see it's really easy to work with. And in week 8, number 8 here is design, create, and populate catalogs. That simply means to create a cart structure. Now, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but I'm going to pretend like we're in class right now, and I'll just tell you right now that when I do get a client for e-commerce, I ask them to tell me the categories and tell me how many tiers your e-commerce site has. So that's what you're going to be organizing. Whatever you're selling, you have to organize the categories and the subcategories. That's what we mean by populating catalogs. Number 9 here says to create shopping carts and checkout procedures. A lot of that's set up for us, but I'm going to show you some things that might scare you about security, and that's what you're going to need to learn. And the site administration, that's going to be pretty easy because OpenCart has an interface for it. So I'm asking you to learn enough OpenCart and have enough CSS HTML where you can change certain things about OpenCart to make a nice e-commerce site. And lastly, we'll be creating and managing e-commerce sites using a content management system, which is OpenCart. Anyway, 8 weeks. You have until June 24th to drop out. My late policy is the same as it's always been. If you've ever had me before, I go 1 point per day up until a week, at which point I don't accept it without giving prior approval. So just keep in touch with me. That's all I'm asking. Not much more than that. So that's our syllabus. Below here, there's a reading list. Here's our course summary. These are the assignments. So each week there's an assignment. Each assignment will be due. And I know this interface may be new to you because we're using Canvas, but it is what it is, and I think you'll like it. I've certainly had an easier time putting the course together over the past few weeks, so I think you'll be happy. So when you get to the course and you're clicking on home, you'll see weeks below here, and actually I can sort of leave the student view and show you what I plan on for you. So I've got all the weeks set up. Week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8, and I'm not going to quite release them yet. I want to make sure you only see one at a time. So they'll be released in week 2 because I want to make sure they're perfect and that it's seamless and that people don't work ahead. So if you have questions about the assignments, you can simply go to assignment here, and you'll still have access to the assignments. Okay. So it's just the content. I want to make sure it's top-notch, up-to-date, 2019 only product, and that's why I'm going to be releasing these on Sunday night. Okay. So this week, what are we doing this week? Well, this week we're going to talk about what makes a good e-commerce site, take a quick view of past work, do a PayPal demo, integrate PayPal Sandbox, and introduce you to assignment 1. There are no quizzes in here. We're all about just building. Okay, so that's an overview of the course. Just what students are usually most concerned about is how do I submit these? And basically, you can click on the assignment, and I'll go ahead and go back and go into student view again, so you can see what you will be seeing. And here's assignment, and you would click on that assignment right there. That's June 21st, and just click on submit assignment, and that's it. So there's, as I said, 7 10-point assignments, and there is one final project that's 60 points. So that, we want to put all our emphasis on that. All of these assignments, in fact, relate to this final project. So all your effort will be going into making this the best portfolio site you can make it. And so like this week we'll be brainstorming, then installing our cart, wireframing our homepage, performing a mock-up, reviewing mock-ups, implementing reviews. And just so you know what that is, basically there's going to be an e-commerce poll, and this is one from a past course where you can click on the link and actually see the person's project, which we'll go over. And this is a homepage mock-up of a past semester from the fall. And basically you choose that project and you answer questions. And then when the student decides to view the comments, he can go in here and view his comments. And hopefully Frank has some. I may have deleted them already because this was a while back. But let's do this. Nope, yeah, I think I've deleted them already. So, but that's a good thing. I mean, we want you to view comments of your peers. So I'll be reviewing all your mock-ups and giving out screencasts, and that's how we can get good with this. But this is a good example of a good project that was done in the fall and turned out almost exactly the way it should be. I mean, that's our project, is to make it look as close to the mock-up as possible, and to make sure it's, you know, top-notch portfolio piece. Okay, so that is an overview of our course.